In the annals of America's most dangerous criminals, one name stood out. A man whose cunning and brutality made him a legend behind bars. Jack the Phantom Lawson was no ordinary felon. He was a master of deception, an expert in evading the law, and a man whose ability to manipulate his surroundings made him one of the most feared criminals in the country. Who was the criminal? Jack Lawson was born into a broken home in Chicago's South Side. His childhood was marked by neglect, violence, and early brushes with crime. By the time he was 15, he had already been arrested for armed robbery. By 18, he had escalated to grand larceny and aggravated assault. But what set Jack apart from other criminals was his intelligence. He wasn't just a brute. He was a strategist. He studied the law, observed human behavior, and developed an uncanny ability to blend in, earning him the nickname the Phantom, because he could slip away from authorities with ease. Despite numerous arrests, he always managed to evade long-term imprisonment, either by exploiting legal loopholes, intimidating witnesses, or outright escaping custody. However, his luck ran out when he committed the crime that would land him in one of America's most secure prisons. What were his crimes? Jack's rap sheet was extensive: armed robbery, fraud, drug trafficking, and even contract killings. But his most notorious crime was the triple homicide of a wealthy businessman and his 2 bodyguards in a high-profile heist gone wrong. Jack had planned the robbery for months, studying the businessman's security routine and financial transactions. His plan was to break into the estate, steal millions in cash and jewelry, and leave without a trace. However, something went wrong. The businessman's security detail was alerted, leading to a deadly shootout. When the dust settled, 3 men lay dead, and Jack became the most wanted man in the country. After a months-long manhunt, he was finally captured in a remote cabin in Montana, living under a false identity. How and why was he imprisoned? Jack's trial was swift and decisive. The prosecution had overwhelming evidence. Ballistics matched his weapons, security footage placed him at the scene, and forensic evidence linked him directly to the murders. Despite his attempts to manipulate the jury, the verdict was inevitable. Guilty on all charges, the judge sentenced him to multiple life terms without parole in Blackgate Penitentiary, a maximum security prison designed to hold the most dangerous criminals. Blackgate was known for its high-tech surveillance, impenetrable walls, and zero-tolerance policy on inmate misconduct. It was a place where escape was considered impossible. But Jack Lawson wasn't an ordinary prisoner. For a man who had spent his entire life outsmarting the system, Blackgate was just another challenge, and he was already formulating a plan, one that would go down in history as one of the most daring prison escapes ever attempted. Jack Lawson wasn't just sent to any prison. He was locked away in Blackgate Penitentiary, one of the most heavily fortified maximum security prisons in the United States. Located in a remote part of Colorado, Blackgate was designed to hold the most dangerous criminals, ensuring that once they entered, they never left. The prison had a long-standing reputation. No one had ever escaped. But for Jack, that was just another challenge. The strict security measures of the prison Blackgate wasn't just a prison. It was a fortress. Every aspect of its design revolved around one thing: preventing escape at all costs, 24/7 surveillance. The prison was monitored by hundreds of high-resolution cameras, covering every hallway, cell, and common area. The control room was staffed by officers trained to detect even the slightest sign of unusual behavior. Triple-layered security fencing. Surrounding Blackgate were 3 layers of electrified fencing, topped with razor wire. Any attempt to climb the fences would trigger alarms and an immediate armed response biometric access controls. Movement within the prison was strictly controlled. Every high-risk area, from cell blocks to restricted zones, required fingerprint scans, keycard access, and voice recognition. Even the guards couldn't move freely without proper authorization underground detention levels. Some of the most dangerous inmates, including Lawson, were housed in subterranean isolation cells. These cells were soundproof, heavily reinforced, and only accessible through a single secure elevator, guarded 24/7 guard towers and armed response teams. The perimeter of the prison was patrolled by armed guards equipped with sniper rifles, ready to neutralize any escape attempt. Additionally, rapid response teams could be deployed within seconds if an alarm was triggered. Why was escaping nearly impossible? Everything about Blackgate was engineered to break a prisoner's will to escape. Beyond the physical security, inmates faced psychological barriers as well. Isolation and control. Prisoners were subjected to strict routines and unpredictable cell searches to prevent them from planning escapes. Communication between inmates was monitored and restricted. No weak spots. Many maximum security prisons had flaws, sewer tunnels, blind spots, or compromised staff. Blackgate had none of these. Every section had been reinforced over the years, ensuring that not even a cockroach could crawl out undetected. Geographical disadvantage. Blackgate was surrounded by rugged mountains and freezing temperatures. Even if someone managed to escape, surviving in the wilderness without supplies was nearly impossible. Had anyone ever attempted or succeeded in escaping before? Over the years, many had tried, none had succeeded. 1989. A gang of inmates attempted to tunnel out of the laundry room. The tunnel collapsed, killing 2 prisoners and alerting the guards. 2004. A corrupt guard tried to smuggle a prisoner out in a food truck. They were caught at the last checkpoint, leading to harsher security measures. 2016. A hacker attempted to disable the prison's security systems remotely. The attempt failed, and the hacker was sentenced to life imprisonment in the same facility. Blackgate's reputation was ironclad. No one had ever escaped. But Jack Lawson wasn't like the others. He didn't believe in impossible, and soon Blackgate would learn that even the most secure prison had its weaknesses. Jack Lawson wasn't the kind of man who accepted defeat. From the moment he set foot inside Blackgate Penitentiary, he wasn't thinking about serving his sentence. He was thinking about how to get out. Unlike other inmates who acted recklessly, Jack understood that escaping a maximum security prison required patience, planning, and precision. How did the criminal strategize his escape? Jack spent months studying the prison's routines, security protocols, and vulnerabilities. He knew brute force wouldn't work. This had to be an inside job. 1. Observation. Jack took mental notes of the guards' rotations, security blind spots, and the timing of prisoner movements. He noticed that, despite Blackgate's high-tech security, there were still human errors, guards who got lazy, routine inspections that became predictable, and brief moments where security wasn't at 100%. 2. Manipulation. Jack had a gift. He could get inside people's heads. He identified a young, inexperienced guard, Officer Raymond Carter, who seemed uneasy in his job. Jack befriended him, subtly planting seeds of doubt about his career and convincing him that Blackgate was no place for a man with a future. Slowly, he gained Carter's trust. 3. The decoy plan. To divert attention, Jack arranged a fake riot in one of the general population blocks. He convinced 2 rival gangs that an opposing group had disrespected them, triggering a violent altercation. While guards rushed to contain the chaos, Jack knew security would be stretched thin. 4. Tampering with the security system. Jack wasn't a tech genius, but another inmate was. Malcolm Wires Davis, a former hacker serving time for cybercrimes, had access to the prison's laundry facility, one of the few areas with a wired network connection. With limited resources, Malcolm exploited a small security vulnerability, causing a brief system reboot in certain sections of the prison. Just enough time for Jack to move undetected. Who helped him? If anyone, Jack's escape plan wasn't a solo operation. He carefully recruited key players. Officer Raymond Carter, corrupt guard. Jack manipulated Carter into leaving a service door unlocked near the underground maintenance tunnels. Carter was promised a large sum of money, which Jack's outside contacts would arrange, in exchange for his assistance, Malcolm Wires Davis, hacker inmate. Malcolm didn't care for escape, but Jack promised him protection from rival gangs and extra privileges inside the prison in exchange for hacking the system. Outside help. Jack had connections with a criminal syndicate on the outside, who arranged a getaway vehicle and a safe house for him once he got out. Did he have inside assistance from guards or inmates? Aside from Carter and Malcolm, Jack was careful about whom he trusted. Too many people meant too many risks. He used coded messages to communicate his plan with Malcolm and only revealed Carter's involvement at the last minute to avoid exposure. Jack's plan was meticulous. He knew he had only one chance. The riot would distract the guards, the security glitch would create a blind spot, and Carter's cooperation would grant him access to the only possible exit route. Everything was set. Now all that remained was execution. Jack Lawson's escape from Blackgate Penitentiary wasn't just an act of desperation, it was a masterpiece of strategy, timing, and deception. He had spent months preparing, ensuring that every second of his plan was accounted for. Now, it was time to execute it flawlessly. How did he manage to break out? On the night of his escape, Jack triggered the final phase of his plan. 1. The riot distraction. Earlier in the day, Jack had spread false rumors among two rival gangs, making them believe an attack was coming. By 9:45 p.m., tensions boiled over, and the cell blocks erupted into a violent brawl. The prison's security team scrambled to contain the fight, diverting most of the guards from their posts. 2. The security breach. At 9:50 p.m., Malcolm Wires Davis, the hacker inmate, exploited a vulnerability in the prison's network. His code caused a 90-second security blackout in certain areas, including the underground maintenance tunnels, just enough time for Jack to slip through unnoticed. The guard's betrayal. Officer Raymond Carter, the young, manipulated guard, had been instructed to leave a service door unlocked near the tunnel access point. At exactly 9:52 p.m., Jack exited his isolation cell, walked through the unmanned corridor, and entered the restricted maintenance tunnels. 4. The underground escape route. The tunnels beneath Blackgate were rarely used, except for occasional plumbing repairs. Jack had learned about these tunnels from overhearing conversations between workers months earlier. He moved quickly, knowing the riot wouldn't keep the guards distracted forever. 5. The final obstacle. The perimeter wall. The tunnels led to a drainage pipe just outside the outermost security fence. Jack crawled through the pipe, emerging near the fence line. Here, his outside connections came into play. A black van was waiting for him just beyond the tree line, its headlights off. 6. Disabling the motion sensors. As part of the plan, Malcolm had tampered with the motion sensors near the perimeter fence, ensuring they would remain inactive for a few critical minutes. Jack used wire cutters smuggled in weeks earlier to cut through a small section of the fence. By 10:05 p.m., Jack was out. He sprinted to the waiting van, which sped away before the prison even realized he was missing. When and how did the prison authorities realize he was gone? The chaos inside the prison delayed the head count. At 10:30 p.m., the riot was finally under control, and guards began conducting a routine inmate check. By 10:45 p.m., they discovered Jack's empty cell. At 11 p.m., security footage confirmed he had vanished into the tunnels. By the time alarms blared and search teams were deployed, Jack was already miles away. What tricks or tactics did he use? Jack's escape was successful because he outsmarted the system rather than fighting it. Psychological manipulation. He gained the trust of a guard, turning him into an unwitting accomplice. Diversion. The riot ensured that security resources were stretched thin. Tech exploitation. A hacked security system created the perfect window of opportunity. Precision timing. Every step of the plan was executed down to the second. Jack Lawson had done the impossible. He had escaped from Blackgate. Now, all he had to do was disappear. Jack Lawson's escape from Blackgate Penitentiary sent shockwaves through the law enforcement community, the media, and the criminal underworld. No one had ever escaped from Blackgate before, and now one of the most dangerous criminals in America was on the loose. How did law enforcement respond? The moment Jack's disappearance was confirmed at 11 p.m., Blackgate went into full lockdown. Sirens blared, guards rushed to secure every exit, and SWAT teams were deployed to search the surrounding mountains. But it was too late. Jack was already gone. By midnight, the FBI had taken over the investigation, declaring Jack one of the most wanted fugitives in the country. A multi-state manhunt was launched involving roadblocks on all major highways and back roads, air surveillance with helicopters and drones, undercover agents monitoring known criminal contacts, An immediate bounty of $500,000 for any information leading to Jack's capture. The authorities were desperate. They couldn't allow Blackgate's reputation to be shattered. But despite their efforts, Jack had vanished without a trace. Was he recaptured, or did he vanish forever? For weeks, law enforcement scoured every possible lead. A burned-out van matching the getaway vehicle was found in a remote forest in Nevada, but no fingerprints or bodies were inside. Several safe houses connected to Jack's former associates were raided, but none had seen or heard from him. A reported sighting of Jack in Mexico turned out to be a false lead. Months passed, then years. Jack Lawson became a ghost. Some believed he had changed his identity and fled the country. Others speculated that he had been killed by his own criminal contacts to avoid exposing them, but no body was ever found. No arrests were made. Jack Lawson's fate remained a mystery. Did he escape justice forever, or was he simply waiting for the perfect time to resurface? What impact did the escape have on the prison system? Jack's escape shattered the illusion that Blackgate was inescapable. The government faced massive backlash for allowing a high-profile criminal to slip through their fingers. In response, new security protocols were introduced, including AI-powered surveillance to track unusual inmate behavior. Stricter background checks were enforced on prison staff to prevent corruption, like Officer Carter's involvement. Isolation measures were increased for high-risk inmates. No more underground tunnels, no more tech access. Malcolm Wires Davis and other inmates suspected of helping Jack were transferred to a supermax facility. Officer Carter was arrested and sentenced to 25 years for aiding in the escape. Despite these changes, one fact remained. Jack Lawson had done the impossible. His escape would forever be remembered as one of the greatest prison breaks in history.